Today, we're uncovering the hidden truths behind the deaths of 6 lesser-known, yet equally fascinating cowboys. Each of these men lived a life on the edge, and their deaths have sparked countless rumors and debates. Number 6. The unsolved mystery of Bass Reeves's death. Bass Reeves, one of the first black deputy U.S. Marshals west of the Mississippi River, had a legendary career that spanned over 3 decades. Known for his impressive arrest record and unmatched skills in tracking fugitives, Reeves's life was marked by bravery and a strict adherence to justice. However, the circumstances surrounding his death in 1910 remain unclear and are still debated among historians today. Official records state that Reeves died from Bright's disease, a historical term for kidney ailments, in Muskogee, Oklahoma. However, there are reasons to suspect that his death was not entirely due to natural causes. Reeves's position as a lawman during a period of intense racial tension and his success in capturing outlaws may have earned him powerful enemies. Despite being highly respected by some, there were others who resented his authority and his role in the enforcement of federal laws, particularly those who were uncomfortable with a black man in a position of power. Several theories suggest that Reeves might have been poisoned or deliberately infected to undermine his effectiveness or silence him. The rapid decline in his health, coupled with the lack of thorough medical examination and the political climate of the time, supports these suspicions. Furthermore, it's noted that Reeves's death came at a time when he was still actively working, which was unusual given the progression of Bright's disease, typically a slow developing condition that would have incapacitated him long before. Some accounts from family and colleagues indicated that Reeves had complained of feeling unwell only a few days before his death, suggesting a sudden onset rather than a prolonged illness. This abrupt deterioration led to whispers that he may have been targeted due to his steadfast pursuit of justice in a region rife with corruption and racial animosity. Reeves's connection to various high-profile arrests could have exposed him to threats from those who wanted to see him removed from his position. The secrecy surrounding his funeral and the swift burial raised further questions among his contemporaries. Unlike many lawmen of his stature, Reeves did not receive a grand public ceremony, and few records exist detailing the official cause of death beyond the initial diagnosis. This lack of transparency led to speculation that local officials or rival lawmen might have had a hand in hastening his death to prevent him from continuing his duties or to stop him from unveiling ongoing conspiracies. Rumors also suggest that Reeves might have been a victim of internal politics within the U.S. Marshals Service, where racial discrimination could have played a role in how his career was managed and ultimately how his death was handled. Some accounts claim that Reeves had evidence of misconduct or corruption that he planned to expose, making him a target for those who feared the repercussions. His death conveniently avoided any potential scandal or internal investigation that might have arisen from such revelations. Reeves's death is shrouded in mystery, not only because of the possible foul play, but also due to the lack of substantial medical records or autopsy reports that could confirm the exact cause. Given the era's limited medical knowledge and the social dynamics at play, the truth about Bass Reeves's death may never be fully uncovered, leaving his legacy both remarkable and enigmatic. Number 5. The untimely death of Wild Bill Longley. Wild Bill Longley was a notorious gunslinger whose violent reputation in Texas during the post-Civil War era earned him a fearsome legacy. Born in 1851, Longley claimed to have killed more than 30 men by the time he was captured in 1877. His methods were brutal, often involving ambushes and quick draws that left his opponents with little chance of survival. Longley's violent nature was fueled by a hatred for Reconstruction policies and a belief in personal justice, often targeting freed slaves, lawmen, and those he felt had wronged him or his family. His cunning and ruthlessness were matched only by his ability to escape capture, leading a life on the run throughout much of the 1870s. Longley's death is shrouded in controversy, with many believing that his hanging in 1878 in Giddings, Texas, was not as straightforward as it appeared. Officially, Longley was executed for the murder of Wilson Anderson, a childhood friend, whom he allegedly killed out of a sense of betrayal. However, rumors quickly spread that Longley had somehow survived the hanging, sparking legends that he had bribed local officials or faked his death to escape once more. Eyewitnesses to the execution reported a peculiar incident. As Longley was hanged, the gallows malfunctioned, causing him to drop only a short distance, which could have resulted in a broken neck instead of a quick death. Some accounts claim he was left dangling for an unusually long time, leading to speculation that his death was prolonged and may have involved foul play or negligence. Adding to the mystery, there were later claims that Longley had been seen alive in various parts of Texas after his supposed execution. These reports suggested that he might have had connections with local authorities or influential figures who helped him fake his death in exchange for future favors or information. The lack of clear documentation and the hasty nature of his burial, an unmarked grave on the outskirts of town, contributed to the enduring rumors that Longley had once again outwitted the law. This narrative was further fueled by Longley's known association with powerful families in Texas, who might have had a vested interest in seeing him disappear quietly rather than face a highly publicized trial and execution. The theories about Longley's death gained further traction when, years later, a man claiming to be Longley surfaced, telling tales of his life on the run and alleged narrow escapes from law enforcement. Although these accounts were never verified and likely apocryphal, they played into the folklore surrounding Longley, blurring the line between historical fact and Wild West legend. The debate over his true fate was reignited in the 20th century when historians and amateur detectives began to piece together conflicting reports from contemporary newspapers, personal letters, and town records, all of which provided inconsistent details about the day of Longley's execution. Moreover, Longley's case was complicated by his own reputation for deceit and manipulation. Known to have boasted of his killings and exaggerated his exploits, Longley might have orchestrated rumors about his survival to maintain his feared status posthumously. This characteristic, combined with the chaotic nature of frontier justice at the time, makes it plausible that stories of his survival were either deliberate falsehoods spread by Longley himself or the product of an era ripe with rumor and legend. The mystique surrounding his death remains a fascinating chapter in the annals of the American West, showcasing how even in death, figures like Longley could manipulate their legacy to stir fear and intrigue. Number 4. The controversial death of Jim Killer Miller. Jim Killer Miller was a notorious figure in the Old West, known for his ruthless methods and secretive lifestyle. Unlike many outlaws of his time, Miller carefully crafted an image as a devoted family man and devout Methodist, which made his criminal undertakings all the more shocking to those who knew him. Miller's reputation was built on his role as a hitman. He was implicated in the killings of at least 12 people, often under contract for money. He was known for using a shotgun for his assassinations, a detail that earned him the moniker Deacon Miller because of the brutal execution-style manner in which he carried out his hits. Miller's death on April 19, 1909, is as controversial and mysterious as his life. He was lynched by a mob in Ada, Oklahoma, after being implicated in the assassination of Gus Bobbitt, a former U.S. Deputy Marshal. The lynching of Miller, along with 3 other men, was carried out without a formal trial, leading to speculation that his death was the result of a conspiracy among local officials who feared what Miller might reveal if he were formally tried in court. Some believe that Miller had information on corrupt practices within the local law enforcement and political community, which made him a target for a vigilante-style execution. His notorious reputation and the fear he instilled in both outlaws and lawmen alike could have made him a convenient scapegoat, especially for unsolved crimes in the region. There are accounts that suggest Miller might have anticipated his death, given his actions leading up to the lynching. Witnesses reported that he remained calm and even eerily cheerful while awaiting his fate, supposedly saying, "Let the record show I died with my boots on." This uncharacteristic calmness has led some historians to speculate that Miller may have had an escape plan that failed, or that he believed his connections would save him at the last minute. His death, however, was not without struggle. Reports describe that Miller's last moments were chaotic. He struggled against his captors until the very end, showing the same ferocity he was known for in life. Adding to the controversy, some believe that Miller's death was more about silencing him than delivering justice. The lynching took place in a town where Miller had powerful enemies, including lawmen who had failed to capture him legally and might have feared exposure of their own misdeeds. The manner of his death, hanged from a tree alongside 3 others in an unceremonious group execution, lacked the usual protocols of frontier justice, suggesting it was a hurried attempt to erase Miller from the picture before any formal proceedings could expose uncomfortable truths about the power dynamics in Ada. Further complicating the narrative, Miller's body was left hanging for several hours, a stark contrast to the typical swift removals of lynching victims in that era, possibly serving as a warning to others. His remains were later returned to his family for burial in a proper grave, an unusual act of respect for a man so feared and loathed, which may imply that even his enemies respected his cunning and ruthlessness. The lack of a trial and subsequent absence of an official investigation into the lynching left many questions unanswered about what Miller knew and who might have wanted him dead. Number 3. The tragic fall of Johnny Ringo. Johnny Ringo, often described as the gentleman outlaw, was a notorious gunslinger with a reputation that extended beyond the infamous events of Tombstone, Arizona. Born in Indiana in 1850, Ringo's early life was marked by violence. His family moved west after his father died in a tragic accident. Ringo's notoriety in the Wild West began when he became associated with the Mason County War, a violent feud in Texas where he allegedly participated in a series of killings. His move to Arizona in the late 1870s brought him into contact with the Cochise County Cowboys, a loose coalition of outlaws and rustlers known for their conflicts with lawmen like Wyatt Earp. The mystery surrounding Johnny Ringo's death on July 13, 1882, remains one of the most debated topics among Old West historians. He was found dead beneath a tree in West Turkey Creek Valley near Chiricahua Peak with a single bullet wound to his temple. While his death was officially ruled a suicide, there are several factors that cast doubt on this conclusion. First, Ringo was found with his revolver still loaded, except for the chamber under the hammer, a position indicating that it was not ready to fire. The absence of powder burns suggested that the gunshot was not at close range, raising questions about the suicide narrative. Additionally, Ringo's boots were missing, and his feet were wrapped in strips of cloth, an odd detail that led some to speculate he was forced to walk barefoot for some distance before his death. His horse was found nearby with saddlebags containing personal belongings, but the circumstances implied that his death could have been a murder staged to look like a suicide. Theories range from revenge by enemies within the cowboy gang to a professional hit by someone like Wyatt Earp or Doc Holliday, who were rumored to have had personal grudges against Ringo. Some reports suggest that Ringo had been drinking heavily in the days leading up to his death, which could have made him an easy target for foul play. A few contemporary accounts hint at a mysterious stranger seen in the area shortly before Ringo's body was discovered, fueling further speculation about a possible ambush. Additionally, no coroner's inquest was properly conducted, and the handling of the body and the scene were chaotic, typical of frontier justice but leaving much to speculation and myth-making. The lack of concrete evidence, paired with the disappearance of several key witnesses who could have shed light on the situation, only deepens the enigma. Johnny Ringo's death has inspired numerous books, movies, and debates, with each new account adding layers to an already complex narrative. The unresolved nature of his demise, whether by his own hand, by a hired gun, or through a calculated scheme, continues to captivate those fascinated by the darker tales of the American frontier. Number 2. The True Fate of Jesse James. Jesse James, one of America's most infamous outlaws, met a controversial end that continues to spark debates and conspiracy theories to this day. Officially, Jesse James was killed on April 3, 1882, by Robert Ford, a member of his gang who sought to claim the bounty on Jesse's head. Ford shot James in the back of the head while he was allegedly dusting a picture on the wall in his home in St. Joseph, Missouri. However, the circumstances of his death are mired in speculation and intrigue, with many believing the official story does not tell the full truth. Some theories suggest that Jesse James might have staged his own death with Ford's help. These theories argue that James was tired of the outlaw lifestyle and wanted a way out. According to this narrative, James and Ford collaborated to fake the death, allowing James to escape under a new identity. The body in the coffin, some claim, was not Jesse James but a similar-looking man, possibly a drifter or a double used to throw off the authorities. Supporters of this theory point to discrepancies in the descriptions of the body and reports of James being seen alive in subsequent years under different names. Additional intrigue comes from the behavior of Robert Ford himself. Ford was initially treated as a hero but quickly fell out of favor due to his perceived betrayal. Some accounts suggest Ford regretted his actions, which could imply that the shooting was part of a larger, more complex plan, rather than a straightforward assassination for the reward money. This theory is bolstered by the fact that Ford was killed 10 years later, allegedly for bragging about killing Jesse James, which some believe might have been to silence him before he revealed the truth about the staged death. In the years following James's death, numerous sightings of Jesse James were reported across the United States, from California to Texas. These sightings often came from credible witnesses who claimed to have recognized the distinctive scars James had from his time as an outlaw and Confederate guerrilla. Some researchers suggest that Jesse James lived under an assumed name in various places and might have been involved in small-time criminal activities to support himself without drawing attention. Forensic evidence has added another layer to the mystery. In 1995, the body believed to be Jesse James was exhumed for DNA testing. The test concluded that there was a high probability that the remains were indeed those of Jesse James, but the results were not conclusive enough to close the case entirely. Skeptics argue that the degradation of the DNA samples and potential contamination over time make it impossible to definitively prove the body's identity, leaving room for doubt and continued speculation about whether Jesse James might have survived his supposed assassination. The enigmatic fate of Jesse James has also been fueled by various claims from individuals over the years who allege they were relatives or friends of James, who knew he survived and lived under a different name. Books, letters, and even deathbed confessions have surfaced, each adding another twist to the already convoluted tale of Jesse James's life and death. These pieces of evidence often conflict with each other, but have collectively contributed to the enduring legend of Jesse James, a legend that continues to captivate the imagination of historians, conspiracy theorists, and the general public alike. Number 1. The enigmatic end of John Wesley Hardin. John Wesley Hardin's life was defined by violence and a relentless streak of lawlessness, which ultimately led to his mysterious death. Known as one of the deadliest gunslingers in the Old West, Hardin claimed to have killed over 40 men, many of whom he shot in self-defense or during heated altercations. His ability to survive numerous gunfights and escape from law enforcement multiple times added to his fearsome reputation. However, his death in 1895 in El Paso, Texas, remains a subject of speculation and intrigue, shrouded in mystery and unanswered questions. On the night of August 19, 1895, Hardin was shot in the back of the head while playing dice at the Acme Saloon. The shooter was John Selman Sr., a lawman with a murky background who had his own share of controversies. The immediate assumption was that Hardin's death was the result of a personal vendetta. Earlier that day, Hardin had a heated argument with Selman's son, which many believe was the catalyst for the shooting. Yet, some historians argue that there could have been more calculated motives behind the murder. One theory suggests that Hardin was becoming a liability to the local law enforcement and criminal elements alike. By this time, Hardin had attempted to reinvent himself as a lawyer after serving time in prison, but his violent past and quick temper remained. His unpredictable behavior and growing influence in El Paso's underworld may have threatened those in power, including corrupt officials and rival criminals. There are whispers that Selman may have been hired to eliminate Hardin to protect these interests, making the shooting a premeditated act rather than a spur-of-the-moment decision. Furthermore, it is speculated that the local authorities were complicit in Hardin's death. Despite Selman being arrested for the murder, he was never convicted, raising suspicions of a cover-up. Some accounts even claim that the police allowed Selman to carry out the killing as a way to rid the town of a notorious troublemaker without directly implicating themselves in his death. This theory is supported by the fact that El Paso was a hub of corruption and violence at the time, where justice was often arbitrary and influenced by personal vendettas and bribery. Adding another layer of mystery, some believe that Hardin might have known he was a target and anticipated an attempt on his life. Reports indicate that Hardin was seen carrying a pistol just before his death, a rare occurrence as he was known to have become more cautious in his later years. This suggests that Hardin might have sensed danger but underestimated his adversary. His death at the hands of Selman, a man with a similarly violent reputation, could have been the tragic conclusion of a life marked by constant conflict and enmity. In the aftermath of Hardin's death, rumors of his ghost haunting the saloon where he was killed began to circulate. Stories about ghostly apparitions and eerie occurrences added to his legend, suggesting that even in death, Hardin remained an unsettling presence. These tales of supernatural revenge highlight the deep mark Hardin left on the people and places he encountered, a testament to his infamous life and the enigmatic circumstances of his demise. John Wesley Hardin's death remains a complex puzzle, with each piece revealing more about the chaotic world of the Old West. The conflicting accounts, the possible conspiracies, and the enduring legends all contribute to the mystery that surrounds his end. It's a story that continues to captivate and intrigue as historians and enthusiasts alike try to unravel the true events of that fateful night in El Paso.